A very good morning. We're glad you're joining us for this discussion, the Kickstarter on Morning at NTV. The hashtag is Morning at NTV on Twitter. And of course, we come on the backdrop of a very lively conversation before we came on air. And we shall be sharing a little bit more of that as we go forth. We are discussing scaling up land-based policy reforms in the country, as well as the Stand for Her Land campaign that is due to be launched just a few minutes from now. That will be happening a little bit later at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel. We shall be getting those details. But joining me for the discussion, allow me to introduce Mr. Moses Onen, a program manager at Pelham. Very warm welcome. Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, moderator, and good morning, our viewers.
And facilitator at Dr. Doreen Kosinja. I would love you to take that designation on by yourself, because it sometimes gives me a little bit of trouble.
Good morning, viewers. I'm Dr. Doreen, and I'm the facilitator, National Land Coalition.
National Land Coalition. There is a National Land Alliance also. Those two keep, the overlap sometimes lets some moderators, including myself, grapple with the dynamic. Dennis Obo, Public Relations Officer, Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, and good morning, viewers.
All right, just a preamble on the scaling up of land-based policy reforms. Most developed countries are struggling to find remedies for their many land problems that are often caused by conflicts, reduced investments, economic development that prevents countries from reaching their true potential. Existing investments in land administration have been built on what is described as legacy approaches, fragmented, and have not delivered the required pervasive changes and improvements at a scale. The solutions in many aspects have not helped the most needy, the poor, the disadvantaged, and have no security of tenure, including aspects that have been covered in the Land Awareness Week that was held in 2002 in 4 segments: southwestern Uganda, Kabale, Rubanda, Rukiga, and Kisoro districts. And the overall theme for that particular initiative was promoting land rights for inclusive and sustainable development. Now, the discussion is going to hinge on these aspects. Allow me go to Mr. Densobo first from the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development to give us a preamble of the need for land-based policy reforms in the country.
Well, good morning once again. The need for the land-based policies and reforms is very important. In Uganda, we know very well that 80% of the land is unregistered, and that's the beginning point. That once land is unregistered, there are very many issues of vulnerability, exclusion, and issues that concern food insecurity, and also many victims that are suffering from socio-economic issues. Now, of course, for Uganda, we do have a national land policy that has been put in place, which policy has brought out very many important issues that require implementation. These issues range from looking at the land administration system, the land tenure systems, the bureaucratic practices that are in the land sector, capacity buildings, and of course the issues of the vulnerable people, women, the children, indigenous communities, pastoralists, and many other vulnerable groups that are identified by the policy. So once this policy is placed, then it guides governments towards having interventions that are pro-people and pro-poor. So that is the basis, and that is the mandate basically of the ministry to take on these issues, of course together with partners, so that we are able to deliver on these reforms for the benefit of all.
Okay, talking about partners, the National Land Coalition is at the forefront of pushing for some of these aspects, especially with regarding to women and ownership of land. Today, we have a launch that is going to happen. First, take us through what the launch is about and exactly what we should expect.
Okay. We have the Stand for Her Land campaign, and it's being launched today I'll tell you more about the campaign, but the launch is basically, the Stand for Her Land campaign is a global campaign, and it is taking place in Uganda, in Senegal, and Ethiopia. We have had the global launch, but now we are having our country launch, the launch in Uganda. And just to let the viewers know, this Stand for Her campaign is about improving tenure security for women. And we are looking at addressing the gaps that exist between the good laws that we have and their implementation. And today at Sheraton, we are going to launch our campaign, and we have so many issues that we are going to talk about. We have priority areas that we need people to know about, and then we are kind of going to tell you about the roadmap of implementing this strategy. But basically, it's about securing women's land rights, to see that women enjoy equal rights when it comes to land ownership, access, and utilization, as the men do, or as every other individual enjoys their land rights.
Okay, later perhaps I hope it can be brought home, the fact that men could be sometimes known or thought to be exclusively benefiting, but they're also out there. For example, communities that are endangered, they have men and they're taken in, and they also suffer many of these particular issues that are based on needed reforms in the land sector. Allow me ask Mr. Moses Onen, the fact that there's ecological land use management, or the need for it, it is one of the issues perhaps that finds some of the land users unable to actually get access to land, but most importantly be marginalized based on aspects like, for example, either they are women or they are marginalized as communities or even children.
Yeah, thank you, moderator, and our viewers. As a network of organizations working to promote ecological land use management, Pelham Uganda has been working very closely with the government, more especially the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, and Ministry of Agriculture, especially on aspects of promoting realization of land rights, and specifically talking about securing of the land tenure. You realize that there's direct link between land use and then land tenure security. How I would use land that I'm sure I'm guaranteed of the security differs greatly from how I can use land that I'm not certain of the security. Now we have policy frameworks which are really articulating matters of how land rights can be promoted and can be realized. But you realize that many times government is constrained in one way or the other, in terms of capacity, in terms of reaching out to the grassroots, in terms of getting to the common person down there, the farmer. Now, as partners, we complement government efforts in these various spheres, and specifically as Pelham Uganda, since 2017, we have been collaborating with the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development in taking land services closer to the communities through the Land Awareness Week. You realize that land services includes land registration, includes information dissemination, and includes also accountability. Now, the Land Awareness Week is a forum where we provide opportunity for the women, for youth down there, and persons with the disability and marginalized communities to interact with the ministry and ask questions that has been with them for a long time. Now, through this time, we've had issues coming along, registration of customary land. There's a provision in the Land Act of 1998 where individuals, families, or communities can register their land using the certificate of customary ownership. But for long, since 1998, this provision has been slowly implemented. But now, with the current efforts of the ministry, we have started upscaling this initiative because it is the most proper tool and proper provision in our laws, where even the local person can register their land, and through this secure their land rights. And last week we held a Land Awareness Week, the 6th edition of Land Awareness Week, involving 4 local governments and involving 30 civil society organizations and the ministry, where we went to the Kigezi region. What came out very strongly from there was that women are still far behind in terms of decision making, in terms of participation in economic activities, and in terms of sharing proceeds that come from land.
Okay.
So we took time, we sensitized, and we reached about 4,321 people. We did dialogues in 24 sub-counties, and then we recorded about 382 land cases through the legal aid clinics, which is an avenue where the local persons get free legal guidance and advice.
Okay.
This has gone a long way in mitigating potential issues that will reach court.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Allow me ask Dr. Dorina Kobusinje. Mr. Moses Onain speaks about the fact that women are heavily marginalized. You know, there is being marginalized, but there is heavily marginalized, meaning there is what appears to be systemic, that women are left out. He spoke about the fact that having land registered in your name alone defines how you use it. Not having any land registered but available also defines how you use it. Could you take us through how women, especially with regard to the campaign, are navigating this very, how can I describe it, a very tight path?
Okay. Maybe to tell you more about the campaign, the Stand for Her Land campaign is a global campaign, like I said.
Yeah.
It is funded by BMZ, and in Uganda it's coordinated by UCOBAC. UCOBAC is a member of National Land Coalition, and then National Land Coalition is a platform of organizations that work on land, and we are out there to see that we contribute to a people's-centered land governance.
Yeah.
Land governance that works for the people, that has the values and what people want at heart. Like what he's saying, the issues that he's mentioning about, they are not issues that would be present if we have a people-centered land governance. Now, when I talk about this campaign, like you said, the issues to do with women's land access, ownership, and utilization are very many, and we have so many challenges that lie in there. Now, the first one is the kind of resources that are allocated to the land sector. Now, the institutions, for example, the District Land Board, the Area Land Committee, etc., those that are supposed to govern and administer land, the resources that also come to them, the kind of capacity that is there is questionable to see that they provide land services. Now, when you leave that alone, the issue now comes down further to women. If the land services that are being provided are already questionable, then what kind of services is a woman going to get if she gets to these land administration institutions? Now, that put aside, we also have the issue of social norms that are very present, social norms that determine,
very entrenched.
Yes, that determine who owns land, who accesses it, and etc. We all know that for a long time, the land sector has been a domain of men. And this is attributed also to the social norms that we have, where land is owned by men. So women that come out to own land, it's like they are challenging the status quo. So this campaign also is happening in a situation where we know that we are dealing with social norms that in a way negatively impact on women's land rights.
Okay.
Then also, that put aside, we are also implementing this campaign in a situation where we have limited awareness of the legal provisions. Like, women do not know their land rights. If women do not know their land rights, then they cannot demand for them. But it's not only women that do not know. Even these land institutions that I'm talking about, the people that are in those positions, the people that are in those offices and they are supposed to govern land, they also do not know. So we need capacity building for both the people that are in these institutions and they are supposed to provide land services, but also for the women so that they can demand for them. But also very important that I want to talk about, we have a situation where there's weak urgency for women. Women themselves yes, they lay back, like they fear, they do not want to attack the status quo and change it, but also at the same time, these same women, when you look at their economic muscle, when you look at the things that are supposed to help them to enjoy land rights and to benefit from them, there are so many limitations. That's why in this campaign we are saying let us put more emphasis on women's land rights. But the other thing that I want to talk about, this campaign, we are not claiming that we are working in isolation or we are starting from ground zero. No, we know that there are movements like the women's land rights movement that have been in place, like this coalition, the National Land Coalition that I'm talking about. We are saying we are building on those efforts, on those interventions that have been done before. And we are saying the issue of women not owning land or accessing land is very diverse. And we should put more effort into this and say that women enjoy same rights as men enjoy these rights. And again, let me put this across. The thing is,
please do.
If we help women to access their land rights, we are going to accrue so many advantages, because we know it is the women that feed their homes, their households. It's the women that contribute 80% to food security of this country. But also, that put aside, when you look at rural women, 90% of them access their livelihood from agriculture. That means if we help women access their land rights, then we are going to deal with this population that is deriving its livelihood from agriculture. But also the country, Uganda, we know that women, the population is around 51 point something. We are more. So if we address issues to do with women's land rights, then we are addressing issues that relate to the majority population.
All right, Moses Onen will be looking at the all aspects, especially when you come to, when you say women are still largely ignorant and unaware of the legal framework that is supposed to help them streamline and access some of these services and assets, including land. But allow me go to Mr. Dennis Obo. There is near pandemonium when it comes to the issue of land titles in this country. Now, having land is one thing. That land being yours legally is another. And when stories of land titles being either hidden, manipulated, changed, others completely given away, continue to, blight the fight for land-based policy reform, then we do not know where exactly we are. Could you give us an update on where we are in terms of streamlining that, but also ensuring that some of the policies that are being rolled out specifically look at the plight of women, as Dr. Doreen Kobusinje has alluded to?
Thank you. And I will pick it from the last Land Awareness Week, where we did have the land information system present for anyone with a title to come and check and find out whether the title is theirs or not. And indeed, whoever came with the title found the title was theirs in the system. And that was a plus for government, because there have been so many claims. We hide titles, we forge titles, we do all sorts of negative things which are not true. So that demonstration of bringing out the information system to the public alone is a very big step in terms of transparency and objectiveness. The unfortunate part of it is that in this system, analysis shows that women actually own only 16% of that land that is registered, and this is very low from what our colleagues have seen, that it is women actually who work on this land. Now again, from the Land Awareness Week, we have seen that one, women actually have been more of witnesses and not landowners. They contribute the money, they actually even give their whole money to buy land, but register it in the names of either the husband, a male relative, or a male child, and they prefer to be on as witnesses. Now, our first key message from government is that one, being a witness on an agreement or on our land forms is not going to transform you into a landowner, a registered landowner. We need to take that message down. Stop being witnesses on agreements, but become owners, have your names embedded. That makes a very big difference. Two, again from the Land Awareness Week, we have seen that women actually own land, but it is their parcels. I think there's some sort of impunity. That region there, it's so much fragmented, land is not declared. So
which
when it
region
comes
is
to
that?
land,
Western?
Chigezi
region.
Yes,
Yeah.
The nature of fragmentation. So those who have livestock practicing other agricultural, practices, one or another, because they don't have grass, they don't have pastures, they end up grazing in the parcels of the widows, destroying and destructing their food. That is a very big issue in that region. They have nowhere to complain, nowhere to go, and it has caused insecurity. And the third one is that there has been actually a disservice done by not registering women, because their levels of productivity would not be as if they were registered. So we've seen, these are the issues that we pick, and we say, no, as government, we need to push these messages ahead, empower women, and move them a step further. All these lead to conflicts, and time for conflict is over now. We should be seeing that we move towards productivity of both men and women. All right,
Moses Onen, can you respond to her concerns, especially when it comes to the fact that women are still largely ignorant of exactly how to go about some of these aspects? Very quickly, in 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. From where I sit at Pelham, Uganda, we approach issues of women empowerment through agroecology. Yeah. Agroecology, if you realize, is a science and the practice, but also movements. Now, under that pillar of movements, we have a number of women movements we've mobilized, and they're coming up to promote agroecology. And in the movements, we emphasize aspect of good governance, aspect of accountability, and this comes with information dissemination on land rights. Now, the Land Awareness Week complements our framework of agroecology in terms of information dissemination, getting women to participate. First of all, getting women to speak out what they're going through is one step. Getting them to participate in these dialogues where they were questioning ministry officials, questioning local government officials on land services. Why are they not being sensitized regularly? Why are the legal provisions not being implemented, especially a registration of land using certificates of customary ownership, which is quite cheaper for them. So as Pelham, we shall continue consolidating our work around agroecology and making sure that we reach the grassroots women. Right now we are developing a model for customary land registration that is community-led and is participatory. And this model puts women, we purposely are targeting 60% of the women in Amuru district and in Katakwi. This is where we are piloting this model. And after which, we shall get the learnings from it and then share with government for it to inform at the national policy reviews.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we're out of time. I would allow you 30 minutes to give us your wrap and exactly what's going to be happening at the launch and what we should be looking forward to.
Okay, I need to put this across. We have to know that the Stand for Her Land campaign in Uganda is very timely. As you've heard from Mr. Obo and as you've heard from Moses, Uganda is a time when we are doing policy reforms. We are doing policy reviews. If you look at the table, we have the valuation bill, we have the land acquisition bill, but then also the 1998 Land Amendment Act.
Yeah.
And we are saying as a campaign, we are going to look at this process of the review from the lenses of women's land rights. We want to see that issues to do with women's land rights are addressed, and then we inform this whole process. Just briefly, he talked about the land cases, conflicts being so many, and we are saying in this campaign that indeed we have to see that women have to have access to land justice. Women can access these courts of law, women can access land structures to help them to resolve those land conflicts, because there are so many. And he has talked about customary tenure. It's very important, and it is the majority tenure in Uganda, 80%. That means if we address issues, and also this customary tenure is highly influenced by cultural practices, beliefs and norms. That means this campaign is out there to see that the kind of norms and beliefs that are in our society are transformed, so that people embrace women owning, accessing and utilizing land. And Mr. Obo talked about land, the procedure being expensive. And us as Stand for Her Land campaign, we are saying that we are looking at the continuum of rights when it comes to land governance. Let us look at those women who want access alone, those who want utilization, those who want ownership, so that we address a category of issues, and this campaign is not seen as a campaign for a few women who are elite. But also this campaign puts the grassroots women at a central. Yes. We want to give them space so that they can contribute to issues of land governance, because at the end of the day, this tenure security is more important to that woman who is denied land access when maybe her husband dies and the brother-in-law wants to inherit them.
Okay, then Sobo, I understand you'll be speaking at the Stand for Her Land campaign. Very briefly, 30 seconds.
Only to say that the Stand for Her Land campaign is actually a government program. I want to really be very, government will own up on this program 100%, because if you look at our laws, the NRM manifesto that we are implementing, and even the policies, all the issues in this strategy are embedded in government documents. So it is a shared responsibility to make sure that we implement and make sure that we respond to the needs of the women and men, addressing two things. One, they are what they call strategic gender needs. For this one, we want to make sure that women get legal documentation. For practical gender needs, this one, we want to make sure that we take services closer to women. Women find it easier to come to the sub-counties than go to the zonal offices or come to Kampala. And this alone will be making sure that we are integrating both men and women into service delivery. All
right, thank you very much, Dennis Sobo, the Public Relations Officer at the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, for that last one. Many thanks to you too, Doreen Kobusinje, the National Land Coalition Facilitator, and of course Moses Onen, the Program Manager at Pelham. Many thanks for the insights on land-based policy reforms, as well as the upcoming launch of the Stand for Her Land campaign that will be in just under 30 minutes from now. It's been a pleasure having your company on Morning at NTV. I'm Chris again on behalf of the team. Have yourselves a lovely